pleasure to be here at the Grand Hall of the Butterfly. The patrons have taken their seats now. Soon to arrive are the players for tonight's performance. On first Innes is the twice nominated Innes. And on first Lloyd is virtuoso Lloyd OBE. The lights have gone down now. Mobile phones have been put on silent. Tray tables have been put in the upright position. Ladies and gentlemen, Innes Lloyd.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Red Dwarf 30th birthday show! Keep your applause going for your host, David Innes!
I know it's come across as a Crichton impression, but I've just gotten very fat. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 30th anniversary birthday special of Red Dwarf. Could you please give another big round of applause to my comedy cohort in crime, and also a man I'm proud to call a Smeghead, the JMC, Rob Lloyd. And pressing the buttons that make us all and sound very well as well, and all keep us very lit. Could you please give a big round of applause for the Jacqueline 6000? Yeah! And now, speaking of Jacqueline, could you do me a favour, just put up the house lights for just a little bit here? I just want to get an audience poll here. Can you put your hand up if you've never seen an Innes Lloyd show ever before? Put your hand up and say, oh, here we go.
Couple of newbies!
Oh, there we go.
And some of them are friends, and this is your first time? Fuck you! I mean, welcome.
In that case, for those newbies, lay mode engaged. This has been utterly rehearsed, memorised, and certainly prepared, and we're certainly not referring to notes at all. End lay mode. This, of course, it is about everyone's favourite science fiction comedy program, and if you're need to be reminded, it's a show where the crew are dead, killed by a radiation leak. The only survivors are Dave Lister, who was in suspended animation during the disaster, and his pregnant cat, who was safely sealed in the hold. Revived 3 million years later, Lister's only companions are a life form who evolved from the ship's cat, and Arnold Rimmer, a hologram simulation of one of the dead crew. Message ends. Additional, the ship's computer is Holly, who has an IQ of 6,000, and joining with me, the same IQ as 6,000 PE teachers, or 12,000 car park attendants. That's right. That is a very, very
Now, we are talking about Red Dwarf, and when we're talking about Red Dwarf, we are not talking about the US pilot.
I think someone almost threw up.
We're also not talking about the second US pilot.
They only made 12 minutes of it.
We're not talking about the continuity-defying books. Oh, no. No weird terms about psychopathic hurricanes here. No. I thank you very much. We're not talking about the Red Dwarf computer games.
And there was not really like a text adventure game released in the early 2000s, but there was also, if on one of the Lego Dimensions, there's actually an Easter egg where if you get a certain amount, you can actually go around the Series 11 set. As one of the Lego Dimensions. So go and buy lots of Lego. That's what we're getting out of here. Yes. Yes.
We are also not talking about an actual Red Dwarf.
Neither the star nor the planet, the Locodendron.
And we're also not talking about a very angry Peter Dinklage.
We are, of course, talking about our favourite TV show, Red Dwarf. So, talking about credentials, I first got into it in about 1998. I was in grade 6 at the time, and Series 7 was repeated on ABC TV, and my best friend Christian and I got hooked onto it then, and we used to share stories. We even wrote fan scripts and things like that. And to this day, Series 7 is still my favourite series.
What?
I know that's also like sacrilege, but you know, Timothy Dalton's my favourite Bond. So
Wow, look at that. They've turned.
It's almost like we're in the back room of Good Games. Except there's more deodorant. Now, so
hit a bit too close to the bone there, isn't it?
That's what I prefer. But Rob,
sass mode engaged.
Maximum sass. Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about your credentials?
Oh, of course. My credentials are impeccable. Red Dwarf, I love that film starring Patrick Swayze about a group of kids going up against the Soviets and trying to stop an invasion.
No, that's Red Dawn.
No, I thought you were talking about the Chris Hemsworth film where a group of hunky guys get together and try and stop North Korea invading.
No, that's Red Dawn.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the animated X-Men episode where Omega Red is resurrected to bring back the glory of the Russian Empire.
No, that's Red Dawn.
I thought you were talking about the sixth movement of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells #2.
No, that's Red Dawn.
Aren't you talking about the Doctor Who Big Finish radio?
No, that's also Red Dawn.
Then I have done a lot of research for nothing. Damn it.
Classic us. But yes, of course, as is tradition, we've gone through our credentials, but we also need to go through some audience credentials. So we have 3 different levels of credentials to see where we are at as an audience. So we'll start with the lowest level, which I'm going to call the Holly level.
Yes.
So you're here because you've got some manner of computer senility, or someone's left the bath on in the office's mess. And you've never actually somehow seen Red Dwarf at all. You have no idea what we're talking about. You've been dragged in here, but you know, and you've gone a bit peculiar, and you say, "Everybody's dead, Dave." On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
Everybody's dead.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, draggies. We much appreciate you making up the numbers. Sold out. We're sold out. Sold out.
Don't get too eager. Make it feel like it's commonplace for us, as opposed to, oh my God, this has never happened before.
Oh, come on. We can now say we do sold out seasons. There we are. All right, so let's go with the lister level, which is sort of the medium one. You're a casual viewer. You've seen the occasional episode here. You've had your appendix out twice. You know how it is. And you will say on the count of 3, "Watch out, Ed, the slime's coming home." On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
Watch out, Ed, the slime's coming home.
I do like the people who emphasize the F in Earth.
I also like the zombies. Watch out, Earth. The slime is here. And then, of course, there's the rimmer level. So this is for the obsessed fan that you make, quote, revision timetables. You're saluting at me as I talk. You may or may not always have a pen. And you would get very annoyed at anyone who gets anything wrong, so no doubt at the end of this program we'll be sent straight to floor 13 to the brig. On the count of 3, you'll say, "Up, up, up, the ziggurat, lickety-split." 1, 2, 3.
Up, 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 the ziggurat, lickety-split.
Oh, listen to that enthusiasm. Fantastic.
Of course, there's enthusiasm, but it all could be vicious. Lies! Lies! So I think we need to test just the credentials of the audience here and see how good they are with their Red Dwarf knowledge. So we're going to do a little bit of Innes Lloyd quiz, as we always do with our one-off shows. But this one is what we call Famous Faces! Round of applause! Now for this game, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to show up a couple of famous faces of actors who got their break start in Red Dwarf, but they've gone on to bigger and better things. Now, if you want to get some points, you need to be able to name the episode they were in and the character they played.
How many points is that worth, Rob?
That's 2. So what we need is some volunteers from the audience. Mr. Innes is going to go out. He's on his hard light at the moment, so you can touch him. Don't poke him too hard. We need some volunteers to compete for some fabulous prizes, which we'll talk about when they come up.
Oh, yes, well, certainly. Well, who would like to compete for some fabulous... Oh, here we go. We'll bring this lovely gentleman. Oh, if you'd like to come on up, go and meet Mr. Rob Lloyd. Who else would like to... I need 2 more volunteers. Oh, come on up. Thank you very much. Come on. Carefully meet there. There we go. Come on up. And I need a 3rd entrant who would like to compete for some fabulous prizes. And they are fabulous, and they are prizes.
Yes, come on.
Oh, very good. Lever, get hold of beverage.
Hold my beverage. Come on. Stand right there.
Okay. So the way that this works, ladies and or gentlemen, here is that we're going to put up a famous face and the name as well. But of course, in order to, if you want to think you know which episode or what character they are, you will buzz with your name. So we'll start with our first testing of our buzzers.
Colin.
Oh, that's very good. And
Dave.
And
Dave.
Richard.
And there we go. Some excellent buzzers I do. Give a big round of applause.
Now, the prizes you'll be playing for, we have this fabulous DVD, Just the Smeg-Ups, of all which is sometimes more entertaining than certain series, especially better than Back to Earth, all right? Yeah, my people. We also have Robert Llewellyn's The Man in the Rubber Mask, but there's something different about this one, Mr. Innes. Which one?
This is the updated version, so it's actually all that involves all the production from series 10, 11, and 12.
We also have this very rare copy,
out of print now,
of the making of Series 8.
It's got all the scripts and behind-the-scenes features.
Excellent. And finally, this is my.
Do you have 2 of those?
Sorry, I've only got the 1.
Oh, but you've got 2.
Someone's confident.
Look, I haven't got time to talk about this.
We also have this really cute Red Dwarf mug that says Smeghead on it like that. It's really cool.
So yeah, so our winner, when Rob totals up the boards, will get to choose one of those prizes. We're going to start with number 1, which is of course the very gorgeous Mr. Craig Ferguson. There he is. Someone buzz in.
Someone buzz in.
Which episode was Craig Ferguson in?
This is a hard game.
We've got people in the audience who can get it. Colin!
Was he the Gelf Chief in Polymorph Part 2?
Unfortunately, no. It was not the Gelf Chief. Anyone else like to have a go? This is a bit of a tough one, this one.
Oh, we did have a hand up in the audience first. Mr. Paul Richards, which episode is he in?
He's in Confidence and Paranoia, Rob.
Confidence and Paranoia, but which character does he play?
He plays Confidence.
Can we see if Paul is right? Yeah! Alright, that is 1 point to Paul. Come on, boys!
Playing from the safety of his seat.
Yeah!
Alright, let's go with the next one. We have Mark Williams.
Yes, there he is, famous for playing Mr. Arthur Weasley in the Harry Potter series.
Dave.
Dave, which episode is... which character does he play?
He plays Peterson.
Boom!
Would you like to name an episode?
He was in the end.
The
Yeah,
end.
let's go and have a see if he's right. Yes, he is. 2 points.
So it's currently 2 points for Paul, 2 points for Dave.
All right.
Next up,
We've got
Mr.
Mr. Timothy
Mr.
Spall.
Timothy Spall, also from the Harry Potter series, because as you know...
is that all
sorry,
Richard?
Richard, I was giving out some information. How dare I?
Yeah.
Yes, he played the drummy guy in the one they.
Just wait, he's got 5 more seconds. We're willing all of it into you, Richard.
The Back to the Future.
Ooh,
Back to the Future.
back to...
Back to the Past.
Starting with R.
Colin.
Back to Reality.
Back to reality! I will accept Brummy, guy, as an answer. I'll give it 2 points there. Let's go and have a look. Yes, it was Andy, the technician at Back to Reality. Give a round of applause.
All right. So, we currently have Richard on 2, Dave on 2, Paul on 2. Colin, I've got a good feeling about you coming from behind. All right.
And now let's go to the next one. The lovely Jane Horrocks.
Jane Horrocks. Jane Horrocks, of course, from Absolutely Fabulous, and her starring role in Little Voice. If you haven't seen the film, it's absolutely incredible.
Her Shirley Bassey impression is great.
Incredible. Jane Horrocks. Jane Horrocks. Jane Horrocks. Which episode was she in?
Oh, Dave.
Dave.
She was in Hollow Ship.
Hollow Ship.
And
And do you know
remember
her character?
She played the one. No.
Is she right? The one? No.
Colin, who did she play?
Hollow Ship, she was the, one of the crew.
She was one of the crew.
The Van Crane.
You see?
Wow!
Let's bring it up.
That was a team effort there.
Yeah,
There we go.
Nirvana Crane. For those of you that don't remember, she enjoyed sex, constant, guilt-free sex.
All right. Let's bring up our next one, which is Ainsley Harriet.
Ainsley Harriet. Colin, which episode is he in?
Polymorph Part 2, he was the Guild Chief. He was the one I was thinking of earlier.
He was fantastic. Put it up, Colin. Yes! We now have Colin, Dave, and Richard are all on 3 points. Paul on 2. Not bad for someone who wasn't even playing the fucking game. Next up, we have Jenny Agutter. Oh, boo!
Yeah, she played Crichton's creator in Hardship.
Not Hollow Ship, no.
Definitely Crichton's creator. I will give you a point to that.
Anyone remember?
No, Quarantine.
No, not
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
What anyone else?
Anyone else? Anyone else? Yeah. Oh, someone from the audience, yes?
It was Cyrus. Let's bring it up. There we go, Professor Mamet, Crichton's creator in Cyrus. Get a point.
And what's your name? Marie, 1 point for you.
Very good. And our last one, we're going to bring our last famous face up, Graham McTavish.
Colin!
Any episode from Series 8, he was Warden Ackerman.
I will have to get a specific episode.
Yeah.
Which episode would you like to select?
Back in the Red, Parts 1, 2, and 3.
All right, let's go and bring it up. He was definitely in Back in the Red Part 3. Warden Ackerman. There we go. Rob Lloyd, what's the at the end of that round?
We have the scores. We have Marie on 1. We have Paul on 2. We have both. We have Dave on 3. We have Richard on 4. But coming from behind on 5, Colin!
Well, Colin gets to choose a prize. I'm going to ask my very lovely other members to come on down. Give them a big round of applause. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for participating. Much appreciated. There we go.
Beautiful. And
Yes.
Colin has chosen the extended edition of The Man in the Rubber Mask.
Mask.
Thank you, Colin. Watch your step, watch your step. Make your way down there. Beautiful.
Okay, what are we up to now, Mr. Lloyd?
We're up to, we're going to look at pre-production and production, the commission process, or as I like to call it, the commish. Ba 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 ba.
That's
Ba 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 ba.
That's a 90s reference for anybody out there.
Michael Chiklis.
Yes, pun. Initially the series, of course, created by university dropouts Rob Lloyd. If it was Rob Lloyd, he would not be here, for he would be swimming in money. Swimming! Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, who were university dropouts, and they were at the time working for the BBC Radio for such sketch series as The News Headlines and also Son of Cliche, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They also worked on such TV shows as A Kick Up the 80s. The concept of the show was originally came from one of their sketches from Son of Cliche in the mid-1980s, written by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, and we've got a small clip here from the series.
Dave Hollins, Space Cadet.
This is Dave Hollins. I'm still alone on the Melissa 5. The others are still dead. I'm still 7 trillion light years away from Earth. Yesterday, we hit a space storm. Acid rain, fireballs, meteors, radiation. Brightened up in the afternoon, though.
So whilst they were trying, the written sketches, they were trying to write their own sitcom, and so they were getting lots of pointless feedback that wasn't very useful. So they went to see their friend Paul Jackson, who they worked on the TV series Three of a Kind with Tracy Ullman, Lenny Henry, and some other guy. And essentially they said to Paul, we want some feedback. Everyone just keeps saying it's too long. Could you give us some proper feedback so we can become sitcom writers? So Paul Jackson looked over and told, it's too long. So they went away and they decided to come up with the Red Dwarf idea, which apparently they did over a weekend up at a relative's place halfway up a mountain. And they would have finished it in the weekend, except their car went over a cliff over the weekend. They did survive.
They would have got back safer, but they were captured by one of their biggest fans who took them back to their abandoned farm, and they had a pig named after one of their characters, and this woman just kept on talking and talking and talking, and had to rewrite a new script, and then at one point they tried to get away, so she got a sledgehammer and broke their... Oh, that's a different story, sorry.
Although, fun fact, Doug Naylor has a prosthetic leg. So if you didn't know that, Doug Naylor only has one leg due to a childhood accident involving a car. So that's miserable. So, but if we go to the next slide, we see that the main reason here on our next slide that they actually managed to get the funding for Red Dwarf is because Happy Families, which was a comedy series by Ben Elton featuring Jennifer Saunders playing many characters, was never ever going to get a second series. And essentially the way the BBC worked at the time, you can imagine them all wearing tweed and having pipes going, well, there was a Happy Families 1, by that logic must be Happy Families 2. Yes, and right in the budget. Because that's how they all sound, I imagine. But there never was one. So there was definitely a slot that BBC Manchester said, we need a sitcom. So Peter Risdale Scott was the commissioning editor, and he was reading a bunch of scripts on the train as he did it, and there was one that made him laugh out loud, and that was the Red Dwarf one, which up until then had been passed over by BBC executives. And in fact, the line that actually made him crack out laughing was one of the cats, which was, hey, this has been a good day, I've eaten 5 times, I've slept 6 times, and I've made a lot of things mine. Tomorrow I'm going to see if I can have sex with something. And it's a good line. It's a good line. And the scene in particular would actually be removed and put into Confidence and Paranoia. But, and so with all that set in place, a script that was written in 1983 finally was starting to be involved in production in 1987 to be released in 1988. Now, at this point, we're going to have a little bit of a song to express our feelings, but as we are distinctly lacking a usual handsome man who usually sits over there playing music, and we tried to get a backup handsome man, and he wasn't able to do it, and then the third backup handsome man wasn't able to do it.
I'm right here, and that's all right.
You're an all right man. But nonetheless, what we have decided to do is, with the help of you guys, we're going to have a sort of almost a karaoke version of our song. So there will be some lyrics coming up to express it. Mr. Rob Lloyd will be leading us here with a song that makes us feel very tongue-tied.
When I saw you for the first time, my knees began to quiver, and I got a funny feeling in my kidneys and my liver,
Digestive system, baby.
my hands they started shaking, my heart began a thumping,
Boom, boom, boom.
my breakfast left my body.
Huey.
Now darling, tell me something, why do you make me tongue-tied? Tongue-tied, whenever you are near me, tied tongue, tied tongue, whenever you're around, you make me feel a clown, girl, yes, you make me tongue-tied, tongue-tied, why can't I tell you clearly, tied, tongue-tied, whenever you're around. I saw you cross the dance floor,
Dancing.
I thought of birds and bees,
Reproductive system, baby.
when I tried to speak to you,
Talk.
my tongue unraveled to my knees.
Flippity flop.
I tried to say I love you, but it came out kinda wrong, girl. It sounded like my new
Tongue-tied.
Now it's 'cause you make me tongue-tied, whenever you are near me. I narmy normal, whenever you're in town. Yes, you make me tongue-tied,
Mr. Rob Lloyd! Wonderful.
I just sang a song that was sung by a fiery from Labyrinth. My life is complete.
There we go. That's a connection. So what are we up to now, Mr. Lloyd?
We're up to production.
Oh, we are
or as I
indeed.
like to call, the product. Do. No, I'm not going to go with that joke anymore. The product. I'm doing a Kamish reference for the one person in the audience who remembers the Michael Chiklis series from the 90s, the Kamish. I made that joke earlier. Moving on!
We can only but appreciate commitment. The episode itself actually at one point was never going, the first episode, the end, was actually never, almost didn't get made because of an electrician strike, which was the fashion at the time at the BBC. But filming eventually would resume once the industrial action had been sorted. Filming scene for the Frankenstein cat, you might remember from the end, it's actually hilarious because the cat is doing nothing what Craig Charles is asking it to do. And that took several takes. And the one that actually ended up in the episode was an inferior take because all the best ones, Craig Charles' testicles could be seen.
They had dreadlocks too, surprisingly.
The opening theme tune was written by Howard Goodall, best known for the Blackadder theme as well as many other comedy themes, and his inspiration for the opening titles was of course 2001: A Space Odyssey. But when he was coming up with the end theme, which was sung by Jenna Russell, he didn't want to make it like a crappy sort of science fiction-y sounding thing. He didn't want to make it like Canine and Company.
Oh, I've got all this work to do. I'll go to a bus station and do my typing there. If you don't get that reference, good on you.
Yes. So he went back and he was influenced a lot by Motown, so that's what he wanted to do with that. And of course the lyrics, the end song, were referencing to Lister's goal to be able to go to Fiji, including the goldfish shoals nibbling at my toes line. For the opening credits, the flybys of the ship were all organised by Peter Ragg, who was better known as being the boffin behind many of the special effects of 80s Doctor Who, and also he did a lot of work on Thunderbirds, and worked a lot through series 1 to 8 of Red Dwarf. And originally the painting of the ship was supposed to be one long take, but just wasn't able to do it at the time. And the model itself was 8 foot, so almost, what would that be, just over 2 metres?
Yeah.
We have 2 metres from scoop to end there as well. So let's have a look at this next slide here. So with a 7th episode slot left over, so actually the first series had 7 episodes worth to film it. So what Rob and Doug decided to do was they actually decided to go back and fix all the shit episodes. So rather than film a new episode, they actually went back and refilmed stuff that didn't work. So this included, which we'll see, as you can see here, that Norman Lovett was actually never supposed to be on screen. Possibly that could have been a good thing, so he whinged as he did and managed to get all of his scenes redone, so he became a face on the screen, and of course that became iconic. And there was also a few scenes excised, for instance the Rimmer's eulogy scene that would have been in Future Echoes. And most of the end, the actual episode of the end, was entirely reshot footage. I think about 2/3 of that ended up being completely redone during that 7th episode slot. The set designer Paul Montague gave the ships a very interior grey look because it was inspired, like Rob and Doug had said, we want a sort of a dingy submarine look, kind of like Alien in 1979. So what did we get? We got BBC grey wood as the interior of the ship. And it wasn't until Mel Bibby took over, they added some colour in Series 2, but then we got the beautiful redesigned sets in Series 3. So what's up now, Mr. Lloyd?
We're going to look at our amazing cast.
Oh, of course. The cast is absolutely fantastic, and is, of course, the main part of the show. And, of course, we have the big round of applause for the main star of the show, Arnold J. Rimmer, Mr. Alfred Molina!
Yeah!
What?
Yes, Mr. Alfred Molina, as you remember from the opening scene of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. He also went on to be Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. Let's not forget his starring role in Law and Order LA as well. Yes, he was cast as Red Dwarf. In Red Dwarf.
As Red
Dwarf. He's very versatile. Okay, and I will make the reference, he was also Dr. Edelweiss in Angie Tribeca.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes, actually, Alfred Molina auditioned for the part and got the role. Chris Barry even got his rejection letter and everything. But then Alfred Molina was asking some awkward questions like, how long does a dead person stay dead? And I don't particularly like being a hologram, and realised that basically after a while he wasn't going to be getting the role, so he decided not to go with it. And then of course we have Mr. Chris Barry. Let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Chris Barry. He did a reading with Craig Charles, and the rest is history. Chris says that he used a lot of his experiences at boarding school with the relationship and the rivalry between his brothers and also his friends as well to establish the relationship between Lister and Rimmer as well. But Chris had also worked with Rob and Doug before on Spitting Image. If you were here in the beforehand, you would have heard the Dreadful Chicken song, which comes from Spitting Image, and he was also known for all of his impressions as well. Next we have Mr. Craig Charles as Lister. That photo was almost Alan Rickman. You might be familiar, Alan Rickman really loved the role of Lister, and he really loved the script. He also, I imagine that, I can imagine the meeting because he actually refused to do a reading or anything. He just said, I want the role of Lister. That's my Alan Rickman impression. Can you do that better? No. So anyway, actually the reason why Craig Charles even knew about Red Dwarf is that he was sent the script as a racism check because the writers wanted to make sure that the character of the cat wasn't a racist stereotype, and Craig Charles says, no, it's actually quite funny, but I'd also like to be in it. So he auditioned for the role of Lister, and initially Rob Grant and Doug Naylor had written him off, Doug in particular, because one, they wanted sort of like a whacked out middle-aged space bum type like a Christopher Lloyd or a Stephen Wright, but also because Craig Charles, for those who aren't familiar, before he got onto Red Dwarf, was actually an angry beat poet, and he used to appear on things like Terry Wogan being all angry and beat poety. And so
the 80s, when they used to have on mainstream television angry beat poets. And now we have Married at First Sight.
Yeah. Bring back Thatcher!
Yeah. They've turned again.
Oh, haven't we all? So he auditioned, and he absolutely won the role in the first reading, so that was great. And then he was made to read again. Apparently the second reading was absolutely atrocious, but they still decided to go with him anyway, and the rest is history. He'd also never acted before then, so this was a huge risk. But when he used to say he frequently filmed Red Dwarf with a hangover, and it may or may not be well known that up in those, especially the first sort of 5 series, he and Chris Barry didn't get along at all. They absolutely hated each other's guts, and it may have been about rivalry or things like that, but also I think they found, when Craig Charles found out how much Chris Barry was getting paid more than he was, yeah, that'll do that. But then that sort of became all water under the bridge. So they are now really super chummy. But that was the reason why the main fan complained that there's no bonk scenes left. That was because they literally could not be in a room together, lest they would be argumentative. But then obviously by Series 8 they're all perfectly fine. Let's have a look at Danny Don Jules as the cat. Danny John Jules absolutely impressed everyone at the audition because he absolutely nailed the audition despite being half an hour late and being completely cool about it. Yeah, exactly like a cat. And that's why later on they had to take all his hair off all the couches and then put him outside in the box.
But he was half an hour late and he didn't realise he was late. That's why he was acting so cool.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it was perfect. We've also now got Holly. So we've got Holly as played by Norman Lovett and Hattie Hayridge. Norman Lovett, famously the cast's main wincher. He was also the first person that was cast in there. He originally auditioned for Rimmer. At the end of Series 2, Norman had moved up to Edinburgh and he didn't want to keep coming down to Manchester to do the auditions. And so he said to Paul Jackson he didn't want to turn up to rehearsals and he would just do the lines on the night. And Paul Jackson allegedly said, well, I won't have any of that. And unfortunately, that's why Norman didn't return for Series 3, although he alleges that Paul Jackson had said that he was never going to replace the role of Holly. But of course, we got Hattie Hayridge, and that caused him to get very, very cross. Big round of applause for Hattie Hayridge there. Also, a very deadpan stand-up comedian like Norman Lovett, and she was a wonderful performer and a wonderful character. Except by that point, when Crichton was brought on board, her role was diminished significantly, and so basically, Doug Naylor decided that she had to go because every read-through they would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Hattie. Next series you'll get more lines. Next series you'll get more. Oh, we've got no lines for you." And in fact, there was one episode, I think, of Hollow Ship that her only line had to get cut because it just held up the plot. So she was unfortunately let go. But we've also got over here in our next one, we have Kachansky. We've got C.P. Grogan and Chloe Annette here. Give her a round of applause. Also, if you heard before the music here, C.P. Grogan was famous for the band Altered Images, if you call that music, and she made sporadic appearances throughout the series, her last one being in Sirens in Series 6, and then she was recast by C.P. Grogan, by Chloe Annette in Series 7, who had never done live television in front of an audience ever before in her life. So that was her very first time in Series 8 when she did that. Obviously, Series 7 wasn't filmed in front of a studio audience, but when it came to Series 8, she freaked out because she went, "Oh God, I've never performed in front of an audience before." Let's go and move on to Crichton, as played by David Ross and Robert Llewellyn.
Yeah.
David Ross was first hired because Grant Naylor knew that he knew how to play to an audience, and he was absolutely hilarious in that. He, in Crichton, the series, on Series 2, and they were all planning to bring him back for Series 3. He was definitely going to be there. The only problem was he was also doing a play at the Old Vic at the time they were recording, and that's why he wasn't able to make it. So he was recast with Robert Llewellyn, who was doing a play at the Edinburgh Fringe at the time, and also at the time had appeared in a sitcom called The Corner House, which Robert Llewellyn has since said had plenty of sit but very little com. Robert had also a reputation for moaning a lot, and also at the end of Series 3 he'd given up smoking, but as many of you who may have given up smoking know what happens, you end up gaining weight because you end up changing it with food, and many of his costumes would burst with a lot of the Velcro, hook and loop fasteners. The hook and loop fasteners would burst and would have to be basically bolted in, and that's where he got his walk, because otherwise he'd be in his jocks for the entire show. And the final I wanted to bring up the fifth dwarf, Mr. Tony Hawks.
Yeah.
Now, many of you might not remember Tony Hawks because he only appears in sporadic episodes, but he was such a friend of the show. He used to do a lot of their audience warm-up beforehand, and he appears as one of the vending machines. Which vending machine?
The one with the lisp who keeps on getting everything wrong. I'm awfully sorry.
Yeah. And in Series 2, he's the Better Than Life host. In Series 3, he plays as his guise of the Fabulous Tony. He's the compere of the Backwoods Cabaret. And in Series 4, his best role, which is in Meltdown, as Caligula with that famous wonderful laugh.
Rasputin, I'm very cross indeed.
Yeah.
Silent scum! Shut up!
And it's fabulous. And of course, he has never ever at any time been any good on a skateboard. What now, Mr. Lloyd?
Well, I think it's time that we focus on the best part of the series, which is actually the best character. Yes, at least he thinks he's the best, yes. And here's a tribute to the man, the legend, the myth, old Iron Balls himself, Arnold Judas Rimmer, SSC, 3 years long service, 6 years long service, 9 years long service, 12 years long service. Take it away with our song about Arnold Rimmer. Join in if you know the words.
If you're in trouble, he will save the day. He's brave and he's fearless, come what may. Without him, the mission would go astray. He's Arnold, Arnold, Arnold Rimmer. Without him, life would be much grimmer. He's handsome, trim, and no one slimmer. He will never need a Zimmer. He's Arnold, Arnold, Arnold Rimmer, more reliable than a garden strimmer. He'll never be mistaken for your glimmer. He's not old and his head doesn't glimmer. Master of the wit and the repartee, his command of space directives is uncanny. How come he's such a genius? Don't ask me. Ask Arnold, Arnold, Arnold Rimmer. He's also a fantastic swimmer, and if you play your cards right, then he might just come round for dinner.
Yes, well done, you as well. Oh,
and of course, comes from the episode Blue, and this sequence apparently took all day, and they just got very sick of hearing this song over and over again. Black Wednesday, they called it. There we go.
Now, Mr. Innes, our next part, we're going to change it up a bit. Yes, we're going to do it. It's called Forever After, and we're going to get through all remaining 11 seasons in 5 minutes.
Is that an Innes Lloyd 5 minutes?
No, it's an actual 5 minutes.
Okay,
because we are going Innes Lloyd on time, which means we're fucking over time. Oh, God, that came out wrong. All right. So we'll start with, we're going to go a bit of a highlight from each season and our highs and lows of the season. You can go yay or what, according to what we like and what we don't like. All right, so our time starts now. Series 2, let's go. C.P. Grogan couldn't actually be present for all of the filming of the episode Stasis Leap, so in that final shot where she shows up, she couldn't actually be there, so they just got a floor manager in a very big hat. Our favourite episodes are Innes's High.
Is Queeg.
My favourite episode is Thanks for the Memories.
What?
Oh, fuck you. Our both low is
Better Than Life. Series 3, Mel Beebe completely redesigns the set to make it look more lush. Howard Burton is brought on to completely redesign the costumes, including Rimmer's Captain Git costume. My highs is Polymorph, Rob's highs.
Backwards.
My lows, Time Slides, Rob's lows.
Body shit. Swap.
Series 4.
Chris Barry was getting sick of playing Rimmer all the time, so he said, can I get something different? Can I play a different character? Hence they created Ace Rimmer. Amazing character. Now that wig was amazing, so good. Chris said it was absolutely amazing, but at the end of filming it was stolen, and so they had to get a replacement from every episode after that, and Chris Barry always said it was never as good as that original one. So your favourite?
Is Meltdown.
Yeah. My highs, I've got 2. I love Dimension Jump, but also White Hole has a special place in my heart.
And our lows, DNA. Series 5, we've got here, so we've got a number of guest stars who appear in the series, including Jane Horrocks, and Don Warrington on the Holoship. But also in the episode we've got Commander Pushkin is Jane Montgomery, better known as Jane Montgomery Griffiths, and is an associate professor at Monash University.
She taught me Latin.
As the Latins say, fuck off!
Conjugated my verb.
My highs are Quarantine. Your highs?
Back to reality.
My lows, Terraform.
Milo the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
I'll give you 15.
Yeah. Series 6, Rob.
Series 6, Gunman of the Apocalypse! Known as the greatest episode of Red Dwarf ever, it won an International Emmy Award. Now, the script was given to Janet Street Porter, the liaison officer of BBC at the time. She read the script and sent out a memo to the production crew saying, shut it down, do not film it, it is unfilmable. By the time the production crew got it, they had filmed the episode. It was filmed out of the western tourist town in Kent. Now, our highs are, of course,
Government of the Apocalypse,
our low,
Rimmer World. Series 7, my favourite series of all time. I do want to mention Beyond a Joke because it is the first episode I ever watched, and it was written by both Robert Llewellyn and Doug Naylor. It was actually Robert Llewellyn's plan to write himself out, so he didn't have to be in the mask. And so what Doug Naylor did is not only wrote him back in, but also made him play his own brother. Also the famous and most gorgeous scene, which is the tank appearing in the Jane Austen world. The explosion that occurs.
All the boys love the tank, yeah.
The explosion that occurred on an army property was apparently so big there was bits of gazebo landed in people's front lawns 2 kilometres away. And they had to go and explain things. My highs are Beyond a Joke. Rob's highs?
Ticket to Ride.
My lows, Duck Soup.
Milo Epideme.
Yeah. Series 8.
Series 8 has been described as the most fun from the cast and crew. Returns many of the cast of yesteryear, so Norman Lovett and Mac McDonald, as well as CGI Red Dwarf, which was used in the remastered versions of Season 1, 2 and 3. The format changed itself. We could have bunk scenes again because Chris and Craig were actually talking, and they were all sent to the brig in floor 13. So Charles Augers was also brought in to help choreograph the famous Blue Midget dance sequence, which took lots of discussion, many changes, weeks to film, and it is despised by fans. Our highs, Cassandra. Our lows, Pete. 2 minutes,
And then we've got a series that shall not be named. The car bug scene.
The series that shall not be numbered.
Yes, that's true. The car bug was inspired by Doug Naylor seeing a smart car in the street and he thought we must have it. And on the first day of filming with the car bug, someone locked the keys inside and had to smash the window open. Our high moments from this specials was Lister talking to the two kids on the bus and later quoting it back to Kachansky.
Yeah.
But our low moments, everything else. Series 10.
Series 10. All right, so the script for the final episode of Series 10, The Beginning, is actually a cannibalized version of the aborted Red Dwarf movie that Doug Naylor had been planning to do for years, ever since Series 6 finished. The model shots that had been organized within 24 hours were unusable, so with meteorites originally made out of black wrap plastic. Bill Pearson, who was a friend of the show and did a lot of work on Series 8, made the simulant death ship entirely for free. Wow. Our highs, The Beginning, and our lows, Entangled. Series 11 and 12.
Well, so this series was filmed back-to-back and it was taken over by a new production company, Baby Cow Productions, which left Doug Naylor and the crew just to get on with the show and they would deal with all the producing stuff. But fun fact, the producer of Baby Cow Productions also Kerry Waddle, who was the floor manager for Series 5. And also working on, there was Millennium Effects, who are better known for their work on the modern series of Doctor Who, for making the alien work, and they made the new mask for Crichton, which was using all lots of 3D imaging. Our highs would be Macocracy.
Yeah, Macocracy.
Yes. My lows, Twentica. Your lows?
Time Wave is a piece of shit.
As for the future, Doug Naylor is currently planning some ideas for Series 13 and possibly to do much like what Monty Python did and do a live O2 show as a possibility. Yeah, that was what we thought too.
So what's that time for now? It's time for our tradition here at Innes Lloyd One-Off Shows. We're going to do an audience reenactment. We're going to do act out a scene from Balance of Power. We need someone to play Rimmer, someone to play Kachansky Rimmer. We need someone to play Lister. We need 3 people up.
So what I'll do is I'll get Rob to go and pick out some people in the audience, and again, for participation, there will be some fabulous prizes.
Come on up, my dear. You've got the scripts there. Watch your step, watch your step, watch your step.
I will get the scripts here. There we go.
Excellent stuff, right?
Which role would you like? Kachansky, Lister, or
you've
Rimmer?
already been up, Colin. We need to share the love, share the love. 2 more people to read out.
Rimmer,
It's very
you can play
easy,
Rimmer.
very easy to do. Very easy. Come on, we've got the lights on. Yeah, that is. I'll take that as a Garmin's color.
We're having a bit of a gender flip. We've got playing Rimmer here.
Yes, good.
Would you like to play Lister or Kachansky? Which one would you like to play?
If they can get Terry Farrell to play the cat, they can get in it. So, for 12 minutes here.
Oh, so we've got gender flip. We've got Kachansky. Sorry, I turned into Ronnie Barker there. We need a Lister.
We need a Lister. Who'd like to be Lister? Come on forward, Marie. Excellent. Excellent stuff.
And I'll let Rob be the Daryl Summers of this and get people all about.
Come on up, my dear. Watch your step, watch your step. Excellent stuff. So you stand right in the middle here. We're going to read it out. Now, Mr. David Innes is going to do all the stage direction as always, and you're going to do it in the best voiceover voice ever, Thomas the Tank Engine. All right. So just read your parts, have a good time with it, just have fun, whenever you're ready. Oh, just have fun! I'm being a fucking drama teacher. Just have fucking fun! Whenever you're ready, let's go!
It was a beautiful morning in the drive room of the Red Dwarf. Hologrammatic crew member Arnold Judas Rimmer is pacing up and down, while Dave Lister relaxes in a chair reading a zero-G football magazine and eating a bun.
You're not ready for it, you know. Look at you. You should be doing last-second revision. I am. I'm revising buns.
Love the accent.
I mean, it's obscene. Missing the entire first minute of the exam.
Dave eventually finishes the bun, puts down the magazine, and goes to leave in quite a lackadaisical fashion.
Okay, here we go.
Instantly, Rimmer stands in the doorway, attempting to block Lister's path, which is ironic, seeing that Rimmer is a hologram and Dave could simply walk right through him. I think we'll need Rob with some special effects here.
Give me Kachansky. No.
Lister then indeed does walk straight through Rimmer on his way out of the room. And line for Rimmer?
Rimmer line?
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a lousy thing to do to a hologram.
Rimmer then gets the most wicked of wicked ideas and poses in quite the maniacal way to emphasize the point. We then cut to the chef's exam. It's in the teaching room and it is most definitely in progress. Lister is preparing something. The microwave pings and he turns around to lift a dish out. Behind him, Kachansky walks into the room. Thank you. Walks into the room. Lister turns around, sees her, and freezes with a look of idiotic amazement on his face.
Hello, Dave.
Lister just stands there staring at her. Eventually, he realizes he's still holding a very, very hot dish.
Smash.
Art. Lister drops the dish in agony, all the while clutching at his hands.
I'm just doing this, I'm taking this, this is a surprise.
Dave, why didn't you just tell me how you felt about me when I was still alive?
Because I'm a dope, and I'm a bum, and I'm stupid, and I'm an idiot, and I'm hopeless, and I'm useless.
Lister and Kachansky are slowly getting closer, smiling, giggling, and, dare I say, almost flirting. Until Kachansky's personality immediately becomes quite cool to Lister.
I'm sorry, but I just don't like you.
Hey, I'm really embarrassed now. I don't know what to say.
I suppose it's sort of pointless you doing your exam now.
Well, yeah, it's sort of pointless me breathing in and out. You want to know what to do.
Such a good line.
I could never love anyone like you. So you might as well pack up your pots and pans and go off and go.
And off you go.
And off you go.
You've got your prize. Don't make me take it off you, Colin. That's a yellow card, all right?
Yellow card. Karen, I think you're doing a fabulous job. I want you to say whatever line you feel.
I need a man who's going places. Up the ziggurat, lickety-split.
Lister is suddenly suspicious. This is all revealed with an also very subtle raised eyebrow.
So, it didn't mean anything to you then?
What didn't?
You know, when we made love on the snooker table behind the bins.
You never told me about that.
I thought you might have noticed.
Oh, yes, I remember now.
We never made love. Go away, Rimmer.
With the facade broken, Rimmer becomes desperate, keeping the deception going. I'll let you. Yeah,
We'll do the transformation soon. Just wait for that. I'll figure out something.
Look, I'm a bit out of sorts at the moment. I'm having a woman's period.
Woman's period? Women don't speak like that. Give me a break. I don't know what you've done, Rimmer, but that is not Kachansky.
It's Kachansky's body, it's Kachansky's voice. I mean, what's the difference? Come on.
The difference is that you're in there.
Lister and anyone who's even a shred of decency shudders in horror.
Well, you can't blame me for trying.
Leave.
Realizing he's defeated, Arnold Kachansky prepares to leave, but before he goes, he takes a cheeky look down the front of her shirt, then smugly looks at Lister and gloats.
Look down.
I've seen something you haven't, Squire.
Oh.
Holly, swap discs.
Right before our eyes, Kachansky transforms back into Rimmer. Mostly. Rimmer notices a peculiar bulge on the right side of his chest.
Holly, this is not my breast. I want my own nipple back, Holly. Leave, Rimmer.
By this stage, though, it's no good. Rimmer smiles as he looks down at the breast and the opportunity he has in front of him, so he begins to fondle his new breast.
There's no rush, Holly.
And on that note, Rimmer walks out fondling away. He leaves Lister to finish the exam in peace 3 million years into the future. All right, please introduce yourself to the audience, the lovely cast. Yes, Declan, Marie, Yeah, give it a round of applause.
All right, Lachlan, you were next up. Coming up. Would you like DVD or book? Book. And Marie, thank you so much for you. Round of applause.
Well, we have, of course, been very expedient because we are almost at the very end of the show now. We should be able to wrap up and do all our thanks and everything else that we need to do.
Well, no, I'd just like to say something, all right? I've been playing the whole facade of not being a Red Dwarf fan, but I actually am a Red Dwarf fan. I'm going to show you my credentials right now. We'll go to the next slide. I've actually got to meet the boys from the Dwarf. I got to meet Craig and Robert Llewellyn when I was working on Live on Bowen on Channel 31. We filmed, I got to interview both of them, but they lost the footage. Classic Channel 31. And so that's my only actual evidence of meeting the boys. And I also met Mr. McTavish there at Supernova, and he was great. So, and also, you want to know how much of a fan I am? In my second year of uni, we had to film duologues, two-handed scenes, and me and my friend Al, instead of going for like a dramatic piece or something like that, we decided to film a part of Marooned. Oh, you don't believe me? Have a watch.
Tell me how you lost your virginity. My what? Talk to me.
Not much to say, really. When it comes to women. I don't know what to say. I wasn't very highly sexed, to be honest with you. I think it was because of all that school cabbage that forced me to eat as a boy. Still, first time. The first time ever was this girl I met at cadet school. Sandra, she was called. We did it on the backseat of my brother's car.
What was it like?
Brilliant. Incredible. Bentley convertible, V8 turbo engine, walnut.
And from there, you went on to such dizzying heights.
That's what you get if you ever thought, what would happen if they filmed a Red Dwarf episode as a 90s independent American film?
Red Dwarf is actually just this bag in the wind going across the... anyway, so yes, but now, well, that looks like we're at the end, are we?
No, it's not. We've still got one more thing to go.
One more thing
Every show, ladies and gentlemen, he gets to do his hat facts. I'm going to do my version of it, which is, sing along if you know the words, Bat Facts! Bat Facts! Bat Facts! Batty Batty Bat Facts! Facky Facky Fact Bats! Bat Bat Batty Fact! Fact Fact Fackity Bat! Oh, Bat Facts! Bat Facts! Bat Facts! Bat Facts!
Bat Facts was filmed in front of a live studio bat.
So, what we do is we're going to talk about Batman from the year 1988, the year, yes of course, that Red Dwarf was released. There are three major moments in the annals of Batman history. We have the first one, the release of The Killing Joke, written by Alan Moore and artwork by the brilliant Brian Boland. Now this is seen as the definitive version, origin story of the Joker. I much prefer the Joker being sort of like a mystery, so I just see this as a quaint yarn. But it's also got the controversial moment where the Joker shoots Batgirl and makes her quadriplegic, but she then goes on to be a superhero in a wheelchair, Oracle. So that's awesome. Spoilers.
It's 30 years! 30 years!
There's more spoilers to come, because I'm going to talk about Death in the Family. Now, Death in the Family. The second Robin, Jason Todd, was very unpopular with the fans. And in this series, the Joker almost beat Robin to death with a crowbar and then blew him up. And then the fans got to decide whether Jason Todd lived or died. They had to ring a number, and by the narrowest of margins, the fans said, Jason Todd, fuck off. And he was killed. But then he came back later on in Under the Red Hood, which is fucking brilliant. So, and finally, last but definitely not least, in 1988, they began filming Batman the movie, directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton, and of course, Jack Nicholson eating up all the scenery. It was filmed in 1988, but released in 1989, the best year in cinema. But more on that next year. And that was, of course, sing along with me, Bat Facts! Sing along! Bat Facts!
backity bat. Backity bat. Oh, bat facts, bat facts, bat facts, bat facts. Sit, Ubu, sit. Good bat. Thank you, Rob Lloyd. Well, that is the end of this 30th anniversary special. I'd like to give a big thanks to the person who provided all of the music, the backing tracks at the very last second. Literally, he was in between teaching and he was able to email this off, which is Mr. Jordan Van Coolen. Please give a round of applause. Everybody get the music for us. We also love our beautiful home here at the Butterfly Club. Give it a big round of applause. Of course, keeping us all very lit and well. Another big round of applause for the Jacqueline 6000. And don't forget also, you can see us again in the Comedy Festival, which we'll bring up here. We're back with the Junior Mighty Little Puppet Show. So if you've got cherubs and grandchildren and other small infantile types.
I hear it's really cool.
It is. We've got such cast as Rob Lloyd, me, Amanda Knights,
Jacqueline Vickerson,
Caitlin Nolan, and other people we bring in to fill the audience.
Thank you, sold out audience.
But you can always book your tickets online, but we'd love to see you and all of your cherubs there. But of course, please, big round of applause, Mr. Rob Lloyd!
Mr. David
And we finish tonight. Mr. Rob Lloyd is going to do his best Clayton Mark Elvis impression as he does the best version of the end theme. Big round of applause, Mr. Rob Lloyd!
It's cold outside, there's no kind of atmosphere. I'm all alone, more or less. Let me fly far away from here. Fun. Sun. I want to lie shipwrecked and comatose, drinking fresh mango juice. Goldfish shows nibbling at my toes. Fun. In the sun. I said fun. In the sun. Ha! Yeah! Thank you very much. Thank you, goodbye! See you later, guys. Take care.